3 things you have to do when you're chipping round the greens. Today's lesson is going to solve all your chipping problems. Let's get stuck into it right now. So I recently played, and George, if you're watching, this video is for you, my friend. Good player, George. Actually hit some nice drives, hit some great irons, but round the greens we had a bit of a conversation, and every single shot he was hitting was with a 6-iron or a 7-iron, trying to run everything. Now, he does come from Scotland, so I can understand where that comes from. He's used to the links and running everything up. But what we've got here now is a shot where I'm faced with some actual undulation getting up onto the green. And it's quite sharp, the undulation, from me back down to that ball. Then I've got some flat spots where you can see my cones. Then I've got about 10 paces out to the flag. And what George was doing here, he was actually getting his 6-iron out and trying to bump it into the bank in front of him. So even with a 6-iron for that length of swing, the ball was coming out quite flat and quick, and he would get it. Sometimes it would kill it and it would pop up and then trickle out. But if he didn't get it, it was shooting off to the other side of the green, and there was a couple of occasions where he'd made a great contact, picked his landing spot, but the ball had pitched and run off the other side of the green and gone into either a bunker or fallen off back down a slope onto the fairway. So we tried to get him chipping with a lob wedge a little bit more, and the first thing we had to talk about was just technique. How do we play a standard chip shot? Because a lot of what he was doing with his 6-iron was very much a lot of shaft leaning here and the leading edge really digging into the ground because the ball was so far back in his stance here. So if he did get his lob wedge out, he was scared of taking the big divot like this and seeing that it would just flop in front of him a couple of feet. So the first thing we talked about was, right, well, what's the basics of chipping? Well, nowadays we know a lot about the bounce and we want to start to use it. We don't want to use that leading edge so much. When we're chipping round the greens here, we don't need to take a big divot. What we need is a little bit more of a graze. And if you watch TV and you watch the golf from the Tours LPGA or PGA Tour, when they've got a wedge in the hand, you'll always see one thing. They're always having a few practice swings, and if the mic's picking it up there, they're just brushing the ground, getting the bottom of the club just to ride the turf. And if we looked at those 2 divots from what we had a second ago, we've got the big stabby leading edge one or the slight graze of the turf here. I know which one I want. I want the brushing of the turf each time. So to do that, what we said was we're going to put the ball pretty much slap bang in the centre of our stance now. The feet have come in nice and narrow, and then we're going to put 70% of our weight towards our lead side. Also, a great little tip for if you're really struggling around the greens and scared of digging the leading edge in, if you actually just get the shaft up, you get the toe rubbing a little bit more on the surface, so there's not as much of the club interacting with the turf, and that's a great way to feel that we're just getting this little bruise. So that was the first thing we need to do. Tip number 1, let's go a little bit more to a lofted shot, because that's going to play into tips number 2 and 3. So once we got him here in the middle, what we wanted to see was that we had that little bit of weight left, the toe in the ground a little bit more, ball in the centre, and we were just starting to rub it off here and just pick it off down in towards, oh, it's nearly gone in that one, down towards the hole there. A real simple shot. For George, he didn't know how much to swing it, so he just started to get the feeling of actually chipping a few off and getting used to even just impacting it. The second thing, the big mistake that I would see from people when you're not getting used to chipping with maybe a lofted club is we're used to seeing Phil Mickelson throw it up to the flag, get it spinning, looks fantastic. We don't need to do that. What we need to do is pick a flat spot that we're going to land the golf ball. So if we just walk up here now, if I were to try and land my lob wedge on here, the chances are it would be back at my feet very quickly because of the slope. So what I've done up here is put a row of cones. If I could land it somewhere in here, whether it's round about here, you know, the back edge of the cones, I'm going to have a pretty good shot. Because the ground is pretty level here, there is a slight slope from left to right, but I know how the ball's going to react when it lands on the green. Like I say, it's bumping into a slope and I'm hoping to kill it like George was with his 6-iron. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. if I know each time if I were to throw the golf ball myself from here, I wouldn't try and throw it all the way into the hole and slam dunk it. I would throw it out into my cones and it would just roll off pretty much like that one. And I've got a really, really simple putt there. So this feeds into tip number 3 as well. Once we've picked our flat spot that we're going to land it on, the third thing we need to do is read them like a putt. So for me here, if I was chipping, I can see from this camera angle here that the green is really sloped from left to right. So me landing it on the right hand side is pointless. It's just going to go feeding off to the right of the flag. So the cones here are now placed into a position where I've read the putt and I want to see the ball rolling like a putt. So we've got number 1, we're not going to try and play everything along the floor. We've got to give ourselves the club that is going to let us chip it onto that first flat spot. Then from there, we want the ball to run out like a putt. We're not trying to spin them too much. We just want to control it and let it feed down to the hole. Actually getting that spin is very, very difficult to control. So let's see if we can get all this tied together and get a nice little chip close to the hole. So I've gone a little bit more loft to get me up over the undulation onto my flat spot, and then it's going to run out to the hole. So ball in the middle, little bit of weight forwards. I'm just trying to brush the turf a little bit more. Let's see what we can do. Has he done it? Has he done it? It's a 3-footer. I'm going to give myself one because I'm feeling confident with my putter at the moment. Guys, 3 things there that you need to do when you're chipping that are going to help you stop wasting shots around the green. Think about the undulations, think about where you're landing it. Don't just think about the flag all the time. If we think about where we're going to land it, we can then read it like a putt and see that we get the ball running down to the hole. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I'm going to hit another one here because I enjoyed that much. If you did enjoy the video, oh, he's got it that time. That's in the hole. If you did enjoy the video, guys, do hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell notifications. Watch all the lessons. I want you to get better at golf. The free lessons 3 times a week. So get subscribed, get better at golf with me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next lesson.